Here we are back again, the Dynasty Force podcast live. Twitter and YouTube, we are live. Twitter at Dynasty Force Pod, YouTube, Dynasty Force Podcast, and be sure to check us out on all streaming platforms, Dynasty Force Podcast, if you really like us. And I hope you do, because I really like you, whoever you are listening. With me, as always, the doctor himself, Billy Briz. Bill?
What up, Robbie? How you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today? It's another beautiful day.
Yeah.
Actually, quick personal shout out. My wife is next to me right now eating little mini cannolis that I got for her because today is our 3-year anniversary of being together. Not married,
cute.
but still.
Congratulations, Robert.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, that's nice. Bill, I know you're a wifed up man. How's it going over there for you?
It's going pretty well. Can't complain. It's NBA season, so this has been grinding NBA rankings and stuff like that. So
yeah,
usually the time of year where I kind of really stay inside and not really go on the socials too much.
Yeah. I don't know. We may be considering a full-time move of the podcast from start time, 6 p.m. earlier, like 5 p.m. I know you tend to have your DFS podcasts and setting your lineup and thing for NBA pretty consistently. Obviously, unlike football, the NBA basically has games on every single day, so there's always something to do.
COVID, man. This COVID news has been crazy, dude. It's like you think you have a grasp of the slate, and then be like, James Harden just got traded to the Nets. Half of the Nets roster
we have to talk
anymore.
about that, though. We have to talk about that was an insane haul for Harden, too. But, I don't know. It's also weird for the Rockets because they are about to not have their first round picks for a while because of the former Chris Paul trades that they made. So I don't know how they're planning to work through that. It's a weird situation. But I mean, when you get 4 first round picks and 3 pick swaps and Victor Oladipo, I mean, can't complain too much. Not to leave him out, but have another beautiful guest with us today. Trey Tyndall, FF Superflex Guru on Twitter and the founder of the FFB Forecast website that Billy, have you wrote for the website yet?
No, we got to have some of his DFS stuff on the website, dude. I've been waiting.
Yeah, man. It got hectic this season. A lot of moving parts in September for me.
Yeah.
But, I think I just did more podcasts for you guys during quarantine and stuff like that.
You definitely did a lot of podcasts. I mean, not only for the fantasy forecasters, but for us, or for our podcast, we're pretty consistent on here too. And our podcast is a part of the Fantasy Forecast Network. Trey, I mean, I know we had the Fantasy Forecasters podcast. Whatever happened to the Dynasty Vision?
Well, I had a few DMs complaining about Shane's mustache. Some people were creeped out by it. I tried to confront him about it, and he said, I'm choosing the stash over the pod. And I mean, I was upset at first, but I mean, the stash, you can't shave that.
I mean, a good stash is just something that you can't deny. And I'm actually surprised you received so many complaints about such a great mustache, honestly.
Well, if it looked a little bit more full and less pedo, then I think that it would have been pretty good.
Shane, though.
I just want to go back to the James Harden news. I actually really like that. I mean, I think getting Victor Oladipo helped them a lot. I heard that they're thinking about trading Victor Oladipo maybe next month, and I think that's going to give them more assets later as well. I know this is a football show, but I just want to give my little NBA spice in there.
Yeah, definitely. John Wall, Victor Oladipo, DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, for a disgruntled James Harden, that wasn't there. Like, what was the outcome going to happen? You know, he wasn't going to resign. He wasn't going to stay with the team or anything like that. He was a locker room problem. For all things considering, man, they got decent enough pieces back. I'd be a lot more high on the trade if Karis LeVert wasn't a part of the 3-man deal and didn't go over to Indiana. I definitely think that bumps up Indiana. I think that's one piece of the deal that nobody's really talking about. I think Indiana becomes a Eastern Conference contender with LeVert coming off the bench.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it was huge for the Rockets to get off of Eddie Lacy. You know,
basically, too many strip club
appearances.
I guess
too many strip club appearances for Harden.
It's a shame.
All right. I don't think there's too much more. I thought there was something else to cover in the NBA. I don't know. I mean, you're a Sixers fan, Billy, and they didn't get Harden. Would you have been willing to give up Ben Simmons for James Harden?
To be honest with you, no, because one of the things that Ben Simmons does that really goes underrated is he's our best defender on our team. We put him on the other teams, either if it's a guard, a wing, or a point guard or something like that. Ben can guard all positions 1 through 4, so that really helps us defensively. And I don't think James Harden is going to buy into a system, into like a gritty blue collar city like Philadelphia. I feel like he's more prime for like Brooklyn primetime television, where he doesn't have to be the main option. He can chill with KD and Kyrie.
I can see that. All right. So this is a football podcast, by the way. Here we are about to talk about our Dynasty rankings on the podcast today. It's going to be a little bit broken down here. Basically, I'll have to highlight each person individually. We'll talk about some of the big, differences. And, that's going to be the main segment of our podcast. Right now, I'm just going to give a quick update as far as things that we have not talked about on the podcast, football related. Specifically, head coach openings, which Billy has plenty to say about, I'm sure. Most GM positions have been filled, but a lot of the general managers aren't household names, so probably won't hit too much on that. And then playoff football. Chiefs are going to be taking off on the Browns this week. Real quick, who's winning the game, Bill?
You know where I'm going with this one. Patty Mahomes. For all those people out there that are picking the Browns this week, where were y'all at last week, man? Man, it was Baker time last week. I was pretty stoked. I got a lot of Baker shares for your Dynasty. Yeah, so just the combination of watching my future quarterback in the national championship game and then seeing Baker go out there and ball out in the playoffs definitely gives me some hope for next season. Had a bad fantasy season overall.
Yeah, definitely. Trey, where are you going?
Man, honestly, it's pretty tough.
Trey sounds like he might be a Browns better.
I mean, are we going against the spread or are we just going straight up?
Straight up.
Okay, let's say I'll take Browns against the spread, but I'll go Chiefs straight up because, the Chiefs haven't covered in like 10 games, I think it was. I'm sure Billy knows more about that. But, man, the Browns, it all comes down to if they're going to be able to control the clock. For the Browns to win, I think they're going to have a long drive, like a 7, 8, 9-minute drive. Just to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Can Baker do that? I think so. They really showed that they could ball dominate last week, but last week wasn't really a game. The Steelers lost the game on the first snap. Once you airmail the ball over Big Ben's head and get a defensive touchdown the first snap, it's hard to come back from that. But I'm going to go Chiefs.
Next matchup, Bills and Ravens. Trey, you first.
I'm going to go Ravens right here. I think Lamar is going to be able to control the game. The fact that the Ravens do have a very good secondary, I think they're going to be able to not necessarily bottle up, Josh Allen, but the Bills' running game is not going to be able to compete. It's just going to be all on Josh Allen's shoulders. So I'll take Lamar and their offense and defense over just Josh Allen putting the team on his back.
That's interesting. Bill? Same?
Yeah, man. You know where I'm riding out with. I think Lamar Jackson, I think this is a personal game for him, man. For the people that don't remember, that draft class that year, Lamar had more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley, who was the number 2 overall pick in the class. And Jackson was the last pick of the class of the first round, and that was for a team that traded up to get Lamar Jackson. So, I think he remembers that in the back of his head, how it felt on draft day. And I think he's going to come out here in some vengeance. I feel like he definitely got over a mental hurdle last week.
Yeah, for sure. Quick little note here. I don't know the last time this happened, but 3 out of 4 of the quarterbacks starting in divisional round weekend for the AFC are from the same draft class, 2018. Baker, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. So it's a pretty nice draft class right there.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like that.
And it had Josh Rosen. And
whatever happened to Josh Rosen? Hey, he might resurface next year. He signed with the 49ers, so maybe he'll get a shot here.
Yeah. You never know, man. We saw Nick Mullins keeps on getting these starts out here for the 49ers.
Honestly.
You're not lying. All right, on the other side, the NFC, we got the 1 seed Packers taking on the Los Angeles Rams. I really like this matchup. Bill, which side you going?
Oh, man. This one hurts, man. This one hurts. I'm a big fan of what the Packers have been doing this year. Aaron Rodgers is having the typical fuck you Aaron Rodgers season. But I think this is where the journey ends right here, man. I think the Rams defense is nothing to play with. And a lot of the things that the Packers struggle with is what the Rams are good at. And we saw that the Rams beat a very talented Seahawks team last week. Hashtag let Russ cook. We're going to be saying the same exact thing next week. We're going to be saying hashtag discount double check.
Trey, do you
That's
think,
a surprise, actually.
You think Rodgers can overcome the great Rams defense?
For me, it comes down to what Jared Goff can do. I mean, we've seen the Packers be pretty dominant this year, but in the games that they've lost, they have, let the opposite team run the ball all over him. So it just comes down to the fact, will Cam Akers be able to get 140 yards? That's the threshold that all the teams that have beat that have beat the Packers this year have rushed for. All teams have gotten at least 140 yards rushing. And also, I don't like Jared Goff in cold games. He has, I can't remember the record. I was listening to it today. I think it's like 3-6 or 3-7 playing at games that are under 32 degrees. He's from California, so he's not going to want to go to Lambeau Field. So I'm going to go with Rodgers and the Packers right there.
Interesting. A difference of opinions already on a podcast where we'll be talking about difference of opinions. So final matchup of the weekend. It's going to be the 2 seed New Orleans Saints, the 5 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one's interesting to me. I feel like a lot of people are hyping it up, but if you remember the last time a lot of people hyped up the Saints versus the Buccaneers, it was like 31-0 at halftime on Sunday Night Football. So this could go either way, in my opinion. Trey, who you got?
This is probably the marquee game of the week just because it's Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. I've seen a lot of jokes about the History Channel, putting on this game, and I think that'd be kind of funny. Yeah. But I'm going to go with the Saints here. I want the Buccaneers to win. I'm cheering for the Buccaneers because I want Brady to win just because I respect them. But I mean, the Saints have beat them both times this year. I saw a stat that said if you've beat a team twice in a season and you go play them in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure it was like 14-6 or something like that. So I'll take the Saints. I think that they're going to have the edge, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, I believe the Saints are the much better defensive team in the matchup. Bill, do you agree?
Yeah, man. This one hurts me, man. You know what? I'm going to go against the grain here. I picked this team the second time that they played and got absolutely burned by them. It was my best bet of the day for the Sunday Night Football game. And you know what? I think a lot of people are going to be off the Bucs this week, but I just feel like offensively, I'm just more impressed with Tom Brady over Drew Brees. So I'm going to rock with the Buccaneers, baby. Okay. Not going to the window with it, but, we're just having fun predictions for your podcast.
Tom Brady being able to throw to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown, and Rob Gronkowski, that really helps. So I like it. I like the little, upset take there for Billy.
Yeah, back-to-back upsets in the NFC East, I feel like. I mean, not the NFC East, and the NFC this weekend. I feel like we're going to see some weird things happen over there.
Definitely. All right, and the final thing before we get into the main event, the Dynasty rankings, we'll talk about some head coaching positions updates. I don't believe we've mentioned this at all on the podcast. So officially, Detroit, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Los Angeles Chargers, one that we'll have to talk about with Billy very recently, Philly, and there's another position that I'm
the New York Jets.
New York Jets, yes, that's the one. So the New York Jets, along with those other 5.
I don't know how Adam Gase got fired, if we're being honest. I just wanted to put that out there.
All right.
Totally kidding.
I thought you were being funny at first, and then I saw like a little smirk pop up, and I just knew it. I forget where I was going now. Jacksonville. Jacksonville's essentially filled their position. I don't think things are finalized yet with Urban Meyer, but he is going to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes, college coaches can make the transition to the NFL, like Pete Carroll, for example, and then it goes really well. Sometimes you have college coaches like Nick Saban, where they really don't last, but it's worked out in Nick Saban's favor. So, honestly, it could go either way, but the Jaguars are likely going to start their time with Urban Meyer with Trevor Lawrence under center. So could go worse. Definitely could go worse. Now, Billy, I said that you would like to talk about this. Even if you wouldn't like to talk about this, I would like you to talk about Doug Peterson being fired. And, I haven't mentioned, as a Falcons fan, I haven't mentioned my dream candidate. But if you had a dream candidate going to Philly, who would you look or hope?
Andy Reid? I don't know, man. I don't know about I'm not a head coaching expert. That's not my specialties. Maybe in basketball or something like that. But I don't know, man. I don't really have too much opinions about it. I feel like as you get older throughout the years, you become less reliant about your geographical team. And you start rooting for teams that are more of like your high dollar fantasy teams and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like,
for example, I was a big Cardinal fan this year. It was one team I bet on a lot this year. So, like, I feel like I saw somebody tweet this. I feel like as we get older and stuff like that, we need to start growing away from our geographical teams and start becoming like fans of the sport and stuff like that. And that's probably what I'm going to do with the Eagles.
Should basically recommend doing that at this point for the Eagles.
Yep, you're an Eagle fan, pick a new team. There's a lot of them.
For me, mentioned dream candidate, I would probably have to go with Eric Bieniemy. I think he'd probably be like everyone's dream candidate. He's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, has been for the past 3 years, and he's worked a lot with Patrick Mahomes, so there's not much to say beyond that. Worked directly with Andy Reid, who has a strong coaching tree. And Trey, real quick, if Doug Peterson were to get hired anywhere, where would you expect him to get hired?
I'll answer this question, and then I got a follow-up for you, Robert. I think I saw that he was sitting out this year. I don't know if that was just, you don't really know what to believe. Obviously it's easy to connect him with the New York Jets just because Joe Douglas was there, and he's a former Eagles employee. But man, I don't know. I'm not a big Doug Peterson fan. I think he would be a good offensive coordinator just to rebuild right now, but I don't see him going to be another head coach, especially after he lost the respect of his locker room like that. But if I'm forced to pick, I would like to see him I mean, I don't know if you'd like this, Robert, but with the Falcons, possibly with all those offensive talents, we saw what he could do whenever he had a healthy roster. Maybe he can get back to what he was doing. But then the follow-up for you, Robert, I don't know if he was doing it this year. I know he didn't do it the previous 2 years, and I don't think he did it this year. I'm not quite for sure. Does it worry you that Eric Bieniemy doesn't call plays, that Andy Reid's the primary play caller? I mean, because that's kind of huge for me, to be honest with you.
I don't think so, because he's been under Andy Reid for so long that he basically knows, the situation. Like, if he were suddenly thrust into that position for the Chiefs, let's say, like Andy Reid got COVID, can't coach this week, and he had to call plays this week, I think it would be a pretty seamless transition, because Bieniemy knows the system so well and knows, what to do. So I really don't think it would be a problem because of how long he has been the offensive coordinator, even though he hasn't called plays in that time. If he was the offensive coordinator for 1 year, and then never called plays during that time, I would be more concerned. But 3 years is an awful long time to be basically an understudy for someone, and I would be happy with him calling plays.
Yeah, I would just be nervous about the Matt Nagy thing, because Matt Nagy didn't call plays either.
And well, Matt Nagy is very
Chicago, it was just rough.
Matt Nagy is he's his own beast, we'll say. But it could turn out that way. I'm not gonna be ignorant to the fact that it could work out that way. So we'll have to we'll just have to see, because I think if he doesn't get with the Falcons, I think he'll have a job regardless. I think he and Robert Saleh are two guys who are going to be, and for anyone who doesn't know, 49ers defensive coordinator, I think those two guys will surely have a head coach job when it's all said and done. From there, kind of a toss-up who else it could be, but I think those two are guaranteed to have their own head coaching gigs. So whether it be with the Falcons or not, we're going to see regardless. All right, so time for the main event, the Dynasty rankings. I'm excited to get into this. I have not taken – I took a quick peek at Billy's. I was kind of shocked here and there, but Billy has also mentioned that, he feels it's kind of hard to rank people right now, which I agree, because I was kind of looking at this. I have Darnell Mooney kind of higher than I would like, because at the moment he's going to be the Chicago #1 next year if Allen Robinson walks. So, there's things we can definitely work on in this in these rankings. But this is sort of an initial rankings episode ahead of free agency, ahead of the draft, which both of those things will change the landscape dramatically. But until then, we have this to talk about. And we'll start off with Billy, just in case Billy has to go, because I know Billy has his basketball things coming up. I don't want to, make him stay if he's got something to do, because we all got, places to be, busy lives. So I respect the grind.
Yeah, man, we're just trying to win a couple dollars tonight. Got a FanDuel 5 max tonight, big dollar 5 max. Trying to definitely make sure we don't fuck this one up, man. I ain't trying to waste $60 like that.
Who is? You know what I'm saying? All right, so, hold on. I'm sorry. I am getting a great news for James Robinson Dynasty owners tweet, so I have to check this, because it could be some news that I should say on the pod. Let's see. Former national title coach Urban Meyer. Oh, no, he's just – okay, never mind. It's just saying that Urban Meyer is going to be the coach, and somehow it's great news for James Robinson.
Either way, I do think that's good news for James Robinson. I was going to say this.
I think he's a good coach.
Urban Meyer already came out and said he's not going to call plays. He's not going to do anything. He's just going to be the strict head coach. Man, I was really hoping he was going to call plays, because I think his game plan in college was really going to use Laviska Shenault and James Robinson a lot. But we'll see who he brings in to offensive coordinate.
Hopefully it's someone who, whose mindset matches his at that point, you know. All right, so let's pull up Billy's Dynasty rankings. I might have to zoom in. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here because I don't believe that you can see too well. How does that look, guys?
It looks good. Maybe zoom in a little bit more, just because you don't really need the right half.
You're right. You're so right. All right, so these are going to be Billy's initial Dynasty rankings. We're going by position instead of top 100. We will figure out Billy, you could probably type this up at some point for the website, right?
Yeah, I can. I'd probably just wait until after the transactions, so I can look at everything. But my quarterback rankings wouldn't change too much. The top 12, I should say, top 15 shouldn't really change too much.
For me, I can probably link mine straight, on the website. Just put the link on there so that you can head directly to the Excel sheet, which I could continue to update. I could probably do that, right, Trey? That would probably work out.
Yeah. Or if you want to send that to me, I could put it on the website. Or if you want to just put that on the website with the link, they could follow that there as well. Whichever is easier for you.
Definitely. And then Trey's are located on the website, ffbforecast.com. There's a big little tab at the top that says Superflex Gurus Dynasty Rankings. You can just click that and click whatever you want to see. So let's start with Billy here. Let's see what kind of sticks out here. Quarterback, we got Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Kyler Murray at 4, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott down at 8, Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts at 11, which is pretty interesting to me. Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Ben Roethlisberger, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston at 22, Darnold, Locke, and Trubisky. Bill, I think the most surprising thing for me is you having Jalen Hurts at 11. You have a lot of confidence in him being the starter next year, huh?
Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't you, man? I feel like one thing that we really have noticed this year in fantasy is that we need to start thinking about the quarterback position just a little bit different. You definitely need a guy that's a rushing quarterback because the rushing quarterbacks give you such a safe floor from week to week for fantasy, and especially in Dynasty where you can't really maneuver through the fancy waiver wires and stuff like that. You definitely want a dual threat quarterback that can give you a floor. I definitely wish I had picked Justin Herbert in a couple of spots last year that I overlooked quarterback that had somewhat of a rushing floor.
I will give a quick shout out to someone who does not deserve it, Trey, for the Justin Herbert love last offseason.
You did call that, bro.
Because
all over it. A lot of leagues. Thank God.
One league I did take Justin Herbert in. I also have Pat Mahomes, so I am pretty set. I
would say Justin Herbert was a late first, sometimes even an early second rookie startup pick last year. I mean, with those quarterbacks, it's good to scoop them up, even if you don't believe in them, because there's a chance that they might hit, just like Justin Herbert.
Definitely. Trey, do you have any questions based on Billy's quarterback rankings? Anything that sticks out to you?
I mean, they look pretty good. They look kind of similar to mine, so I got to respect that. Maybe it's just me being in love with the youth, but I didn't see no Jordan Love on there. You got to put the boy on there. He just wasted 1 year on the bench behind Rodgers. You're just one more year closer to him starting that starting gig. I have Jordan Love. I guess I'll just say I have him at 27 right now. So I have him above some even starting quarterbacks in the league.
Interesting. Is there a specific reason for that?
The people who I have him over is the people who I'm not for sure about where they're going to be next year, like Breeze, Roethlisberger, Rivers, and Cam Newton. So I felt comfortable in a startup. I would draft Jordan Love over all those old guys.
Interesting. It's just tough because, Rodgers, 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, probably the MVP on the season.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows exactly about the future in Green Bay at the quarterback position. But, we'll get to your rankings, and I will criticize you even more so for the Jordan Love take there. I like the quarterback rankings as a whole, though, Billy. Really nothing to complain about. My only question kind of was Jalen Hurts, and if you have confidence in him as a starter, he's a rushing quarterback. He's going to be in that top 12 regardless, just because the floor that you mentioned. So definitely sense. Definitely like what you got going on. Running back rankings. I probably will not read these all specifically. Actually, Billy, I believe he only has 25, so I can read his. So let's go down. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey, followed by Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, James Robinson, David Montgomery, Chris Carson, Ronald Jones, Kenyon Drake, Myles Gaskin, Melvin Gordon, Zach Moss, and Kareem Hunt. So, Trey, what do you think about Billy's running back rankings?
I could see he's an Eagles fan right off the bat. Sanders at 7.
Miles Sanders at 7. That is a bit high, in my opinion.
I do love me some Miles Sanders. I just really wanted to see him take that jump this year, but I think Peterson held him back a lot. The guy's allergic to running the ball, it seems. So I'm glad that he's out of there. Nick Chubb at 11 seems kind of low, but look at the people above him. I could see why you put him there. It just goes to show that this year you don't have to go running back heavy.
Yeah.
There's some good options even in the 20s. So that if you want a quarterback in the first round, or if you want to draft Kittle or Kelsey in a tight end premium league and draft a running back later, that's a good option this year. You're not forced to go running back early, which is awesome.
Definitely. I think I still like the Miles Sanders take. I don't have him that high, but he still has that upside, He was really great when he did touch the ball last year. He's good receiving back. I think he has a lot to offer as a 3-down back. He averaged, I think, 17 points per game when Jalen Hurts was the starter, compared to, I believe, 12 points per game when Carson Wentz was the starter. So, the passing game obviously the rushing game opened up more for Sanders, but work in the receiving game was holding him back because Wentz wouldn't check down a lot of the time. I think my big thing from this would be your confidence level in Saquon Barkley. You really think he'll be, ahead of Cook and Henry and Kamara coming off the ACL tear?
Yeah, man. I think one thing that's really reflective in my rankings is that I favor the pass catching backs a lot more than the touchdown reliant backs. I feel like in fantasy football, especially in Dynasty, you're going to hear me say this a lot. You don't really get to maneuver through the waiver wire. You kind of want to pick some safe floor plays and then try to pick some young studs to really carry your team. And I feel like that's really reflective in my rankings. I feel like the only one that isn't really a pass-catching back that's in my top 8 would be Derrick Henry at 4.
Yeah, and how do you not have Derrick Henry in your top 8 running back rankings?
I'm shocked you didn't mention Joe Mixon at 10. I thought that was pretty high. I think a lot of people are off the Joe Mixon bandwagon.
I think a lot of people are off the Joe Mixon bandwagon because of this past year with his injury, but they still know the talent is there. Joe Mixon was a top 8 guy heading into this year. I really still believe in the talent of Joe Mixon. I think, he only played, 6 games, I want to say, maybe even less. And his start to the year was disappointing, but he started to figure it out there, had a huge game as his last healthy game. I think people being off of Joe Mixon is just their frustration from his injury this past year, which I can imagine, but we're so quick to forgive a guy like Christian McCaffrey. You're so quick to forgive Saquon Barkley, in this position. I don't understand why, the one season for Joe Mixon is the one season where, everyone is all of a sudden off on him. Trey is someone who, as far as this party, I haven't really been in any startups. Bill, I'm imagining that you haven't been in any startups. So Trey has been in startups and capitalizing on a lot of value right now. Where do you see Joe Mixon going a lot of the times? And I mean, are you trying to capitalize on that value yourself?
Let me check my sleeper and see where he's going. But while I'm doing that, I'm not a big fan of Joe Mixon. I didn't realize that you had him at 10. I have him at 14 on my rankings, and I think that was pretty high on him. I mean, for Joe Mixon, I know Robert said that this was the year that he was bad, but even in 2019, he was extremely inefficient, and he was not scoring touchdowns, and that's what we want from our running backs. And then I would like to blame that on the offensive line. I know that their offensive line is not very good, but I mean, we've seen many running backs deal with bad offensive lines like Barkley, and he's still a very serviceable RB1. I don't know why Mixon can't do that. But I'm looking at one of my drafts right now, and Joe Mixon went 4.10. Fourth round.
I feel like at that point,
I'll have a lot of Joe Mixon. He's the new Kenyon Drake, I feel like.
Definitely.
I would say there's a lot of good values. Like in the same draft, Michael Thomas went 4.5. I mean, if you're wanting to get the good values, doing startups right now is the way to go. For me in startups, especially at this time, I kind of tend to go away from the people whose situations could change if they're like a free agent or something. I'd rather just stay away from that.
Yeah.
But where's Cam Akers on your list?
Ooh, that is a great question. I didn't even realize that. Cam Akers
a lot of to be determined.
Shooting up a lot of draft boards right now.
Wow, you're hurting my heart.
Zach Moss and Melvin Gordon over Cam Akers right now.
Hey man, I respect it. Hey man, I respect you waiting on it because I know a lot of people right now are jumping on that Cam Akers train. So I respect you having to wait and see because there definitely were some games where he did put up that dud.
Yeah, man, because I play a lot of daily fantasy. So there was a lot of chalk weeks where Cam Akers, everybody in the community thought that Cam Akers was going to smash. And I said, there's just something about this coaching staff that just doesn't it's just random when they don't want to play him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just annoying. And I just don't know if I want to bank my Dynasty seasons again, picking Cam Akers and smashing him in the same exact spot.
Dude, Robert was smashing him all last season.
Yeah, I will say, number one, shout out to Anthony Zaragoza in the Fantasy Forecast Listener League, offering me a 2022 first for Cam Akers. Really strong offer. I will be smash accepting at this moment. Sarcasm there. For my rebuilding team. And no shade, Anthony, even though I did name drop you. But no shade, because I appreciate you and everyone else is in the Listener League. But what it is that, my rebuilding team, Cam Akers is like a gem at this point, like a diamond in a field of corn. And it's something where I definitely need to build that youth. And Cam Akers is going to be, I think essentially since, what week would it have been? The week they played the Seahawks in the regular season, which is, I believe, a week where he came back, or like a week after he came back from an injury. Basically, since then, he has been the full workhorse when he's been healthy. So I'm pretty confident in Cam Akers in the future. That's probably a debate we'll have a little bit of in the preseason or in the offseason. We'll see, depending on moves that the Rams make this offseason. Plenty of moves to be made. All right, so moving on here from running back rankings On to wide receiver rankings, which Billy also has top 25. Let's start it off. Devontae Adams at number 1, then Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins. We got DK Metcalf coming in at number 4, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley at 7, ahead of Justin Jefferson. That's one that I would like to talk about. That's interesting. Justin Jefferson at 8, by the way. Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, all the way down there at 10. A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Lockett, Chase Claypool, Julio Jones, all the way down at 24, and Odell Beckham. My big question, I know I had questions as I was talking, Bill, but my biggest question, is where's CeeDee Lamb? Because he is not on this list, and I believe he is more than qualified.
Who'd you say, CeeDee?
CeeDee, yes.
We're just waiting for Dak Prescott news, man.
That's smart.
Yeah, I can see that.
Dak Prescott's cool. We get the good OTA reports about him after this playoff season, and he's moving around and stuff like that, and he's the starting quarterback for next year. CeeDee Lamb moves right into that top 15. But without Dak Prescott being the quarterback and a potential Andy Dalton or Dan freaking Gilbert or whatever the fuck his name was, CeeDee Lamb outside the top 25. We'll give Amari Cooper some love because I like playing Amari Cooper in Dallas.
I feel. I guess then my big question becomes, you have Adam Thielen at 13, but you have Julio Jones down at 24. So is there...
I respect that.
Ooh,
I mean,
okay.
Adam Thielen was top 5 in touchdowns last year, man, and in red zone targets. You can't get away from the usage. I know that Justin Jefferson seems like the yards type of guy, but Adam Thielen scores the touchdowns, and Justin Jefferson gets the yards, and Julio stays on the bench and is pissed off. I'm not really too high on the Atlanta Falcons offense. I think this is the year that I'm going to get away from that offense and stop thinking of that offense being absolute elite top 5 in the NFC.
Interesting. I can, as a Falcons fan, I can respect it, even if I don't love what you're saying. Trey, what do you think?
The first thing that pops off on me, and if you can scroll down a little bit as well,
yeah.
But Keenan Allen at 6, man, I love that. It looks like you're not really caring about the youth. I mean, there's no problem with that. You're just looking for the who's going to produce and give me the points that I need to produce. And I like you putting a Keenan Allen at 6. That's a little bit higher than what I did. But I love the Julio Jones at 24. I have him right around that same range, man. I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to be producing. But I mean, by this time, we're all just used to him having those soft tissue injuries and him just sitting out. Godwin at 18 was also surprising. Deontay at 16 was also surprising. But if Juju leaves, I mean, someone's got to get those targets.
Yeah, and I think that can also be said for Chase Claypool being down there at 23.
Yeah, that's also a surprise.
Deontay Johnson, and like if Juju leaves, I think it's clear cut like Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and I think at that point they would both be top 24 wide receivers. So I like it. I like the list. Is there anything that surprised you when you made this list, Bill?
Yeah, like Trey said, Keenan Allen at 6. That's just more going to be a conviction play. Sometimes in Dynasty, we talk a lot about youth and stuff like that, and the youth is in Justin Herbert, man. We don't need to really overthink it sometimes. I feel like sometimes, especially in Dynasty too, we kind of overthink things and think about age and think about usage and try to factor in everything. Sometimes just the raw point projection is just high enough where you should just take it. And I feel like if Keenan Allen's going in second and third rounds of leagues, I can see a lot of my leagues going like quarterback, wide receiver, and then picking the running backs that we talked about in the 4th round like that. Like I'm pretty high on Joe Mixon in the 4th or 5th round and try to maneuver myself. And then I also think that Keenan Allen's going to be a trade target of mine when I do some rookie drafts and stuff like that. I'm going to try to get as much Keenan Allen as I can.
Gotcha. Just checked my rankings. I actually, sneak peek, have him at 7, so I have him right around the same range as you. My other final question here, Kenny Galladay, not in these rankings. I know he's kind of forgotten with a lost
We're figuring
season.
it out.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out with Kenny G. I don't know what to say about Kenny G. One of my personal favorites, but man, it's hard to say you can go back to the well with him next year, especially with another year of a dusty Matthew Stafford, bad coaching staff.
Well,
the only guy that I really want from that team is DeAndre Swift.
Here's the thing about Kenny G is that I don't know that he'll be a Lion next year because he's a free agent.
Okay.
And the only way he's back is by franchise tag because he's not going to resign with them. Is a new GM and a new head coach coming in going to franchise tag a wide receiver who is obviously disgruntled and doesn't want to be with the team? I mean, I know he's really good, and we'll reflect on that a little bit in my rankings because they kind of show that too. But I really don't expect Galladay to be a Lion next year. That could hurt. That could help. It depends all on where he goes. So that'll be something to factor in. He's definitely got the talent. Definitely had an injury ravaged season. I actually just sold him in the Fantasy Forecasters League. More so not because of my lack of hope for him, but more so because I'm a rebuilding team and just trying to get a little younger, and sold him for the 109 and the 209. Shout out Damien for the trade. So,
love Damien.
From there, we'll finish it out with Bill's tight end rankings. This is also a little surprising to me.
Spicy.
So we got Travis Kelce at number 1, Darren Waller at number 2, ahead of George Kittle at number 3. Then we got TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Irv Smith, Robert Tonyan, Austin Hooper, Hayden Hurst, Logan Thomas, Cole Kmet. Bill, I think the thing that sticks out most of all to people, Darren Waller over George Kittle. Not saying I don't see it, because Darren Waller is a huge factor in the Raiders offense. Again, going to give a shout out to a guy who doesn't really deserve it. Trey did say that he foresaw a better season for Darren Waller than what he did in 2019. Everyone hated it. Oh, how is he going to have a better season when they drafted all these wide receivers? They signed Tyrell Williams was already there, but they signed Nelson Aguilar. They're going to involve Josh Jacobs more in the passing game. How is Darren Waller going to have a better season? And touchdowns was the answer. And I don't know how many he had this year, but it was definitely more than 3. And Darren Waller was, I think he was the first, second, and third read, essentially, in that Raiders offense. So I can see him being at 2, but that's a hump. And I'll ask a Raiders fan here. What do you think about that, Trey?
I was going to say this. I have Kittle above Waller, but I don't disagree with putting him above Kittle. I mean, Waller's only one more, or is 28. Kittle's 27. The past 2 years, we've seen what Waller can do if he's the tight end. And I mean, like you said, first, second, and third read. I mean, Carr looks for Waller no matter what. And like you said, I had people in my DMs, people commenting on that tweet. I had people saying Jason Witten was going to take targets away from him. Like, oh, God, they brought in Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs. I wonder if they're going to take targets away from freaking Darren Waller. No, that did not happen. It's not going to happen next year either. Darren Waller is a great receiving tight end. I mean, I would put him as the second best receiving tight end, but what George Kittle can do blocking puts him above him, but that doesn't help you in fantasy. So I wouldn't be surprised with Waller above Kittle.
I will say that Bryan Edwards was hurt for most of the year for the Raiders. Maybe that does factor in a little bit. And Bill, I can't disagree too much with your rankings when we have 4 through 7 actually the exact same for our tight end rankings. So it's like we didn't even coordinate that.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy. You know, I'm a big TJ Hawkinson guy. if you asked me before, why am I so down on Kenny G's? Because I'm so high on T.J. Hawkinson. I think T.J. Hawkinson's legit.
I definitely agree with that.
You know what they say about the tight end position sometimes. It takes the third year for that person to really develop and really come into their own. And not to be mistaken, this is Hawkinson's coming into his third year next year, right?
Yep. Yes, it is.
So this is the good year. This is the go time year. This is the go get that paycheck year.
So I saw in your running back rankings, and even your quarterback rankings, I guess, you had your Eagles, bias in there. You had them slightly higher than what maybe the consensus would. Zach Ertz, I don't see him anywhere.
I don't think he's going to be an Eagle next year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But do you think the town's still there?
No, he's washed.
No? Oh, wow.
Where do you think he would go where he would be relevant, though?
I mean, there's a lot of bad tight ends out in the league that you could do.
I feel like tight ends is usually usaged in anything, and I just don't see him ever being the same usage hog. Like the years that we remember Zach Ertz being Zach Ertz is where he was our bona fide number one wide receiver on our team, and Nelson Aguilar couldn't catch.
Hey, I would love to see Zach Ertz go to the Bengals and hook up with Joe Burrow, but that's just me.
That would be that. Then if that happened, yeah, I would have a whole different opinion.
All right. I like the tight end rankings a lot, Billy. Like I said, can't complain too much when our rankings are pretty similar. And that's Billy's Dynasty ranking. So we'll move on here. Didn't realize this would take quite so long, but we'll move on here.
I got to head on out, Robbie.
Oh, right now? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I got to go get these NBA lineups in and stuff like that, run my optimizer and stuff like that. But,
I feel.
Shouts to everybody that listen audio-wise. I'm glad to have the crew back together. Definitely got to do this again very soon. Got some off-season time to come up, so we should definitely coordinate some things, make sure everybody's schedules match up and stuff like that, and definitely get everything back up and going.
Definitely.
Billy, I'm going to give you one good NBA play real quick, and then, you could take it or leave it, but, it is what it is at this point. I'm going to say, I don't know what his price is on DFS, but you got to put LaMelo Ball out there against Kyle Lowry. He's just going to be putting on a show against them. That's just me.
It's funny you just said that because Gordon Hayward just got downgraded to doubtful as we're on the podcast, and LaMelo Ball got added into my player pool. Very good.
Maybe even Devontae Graham at that point. They got to put up shooting.
Actually, Saturday I played LaMelo Ball, and I did my video over on Pub Sports Radio, and I said that this is going to be a good LaMelo game. He's riding high off of a back-to-back against the confidence of going up against his brother. And I played him in my GPP lineup, and we're this close, finished 30th out of 2,000 people, and almost took down a GPP with LaMelo Ball's triple-double, man.
I was going to say, that's pretty nice. I love LaMelo. I think he's a lot better than Lonzo, but this is a big NBA show, as you guys can tell.
Definitely.
See you, boys.
You were talking to, see you, Billy. You were talking to the biggest LaMelo Ball fan out there.
Really?
Follow Billy on Twitter at getting_Bills specifically. Let's head over right now, and we will check out Trey's Dynasty rankings. I'll kind of talk a little shit on it, and
I don't deserve this, actually.
I don't know. You might. You never know. Again, this is on the FFB forecast. It is a great website. I enjoy using it all the time. FFBforecast.com has all of Trey's all his rankings. This page specifically shows his quarterback rankings, and I will be likely putting my Dynasty rankings up there within the week. Probably by the next podcast, I'll have them up there. So
sweet.
Hopefully, we can kind of break through these rankings. It may be a little easier to compare if it's just the two of us now too, and go from there. Hopefully, make it a bit swifter, as I know people listening don't want to spend their entire day listening to the podcast. So
yes, they do. They listen to this at work while they're running.
They should.
Honestly, at home, they listen to this anywhere they can. This is one of the best fantasy football podcasts on the market, to be honest with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know you're not just blowing smoke right now because you're on it. So, all right.
Man, those are good quarterback rankings, if I say so myself.
I don't know about that. Let me break it down. So this is going to be the top 32. We got Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, top 3. Let's see what else kind of sticks out here. I think Tua at 10 is something that is very interesting to me. You obviously have some faith left in Tua after a down rookie season. Did I even put him in my rankings? If I left him out, then no. I thought I might have left him out at first. I would have been disappointed in myself, so I did not.
I mean, you gotta put Ryan Fitzmagic as your QB 12 dynasty rankings because you know he's always going to be somewhere.
He'll be somewhere next year. I think so. As a starter, I don't know, but we'll see. Let's see. So Tannehill 11, Rodgers 12. We head on Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts back to back 14, 15. That's interesting to me as well. Moving on, Teddy Bridgewater at 24 is something that interests me because I feel like he's bound to be replaced in Carolina. So that's something we can head on.
Chance for that, to be honest with you. He got benched week 17. I mean, once you get down to that QB 24, all those behind him, I mean, there's a good chance that they might not be on that roster next year either. So
I'm surprised you have Derek Carr so low, 25. I feel like I would probably put Derek Carr ahead of Drew Lock, Sam Darnold, just because I feel like Derek Carr will be the starter for his team next season, you know?
I do believe he's going to be there. Adam Schefter already reported that the Raiders are not going to be looking to replace him. We'll see what happens when the NFL draft comes about in April. But, I mean, for me, putting Locke and Darnold over there, I mean, Locke, 24 years old at the start of the season, Sam Darnold, 23 years old at the start of the season, compared to Derek Carr, 29. I mean, this is kind of what we talked about with Billy, weighing youth over instant production. I'll take Locke and Darnold. I mean, they average 3-4 points less a game, maybe, than Derek Carr, and I'll take their upside over Derek Carr just because, I mean, I've watched every Raiders game for forever. I mean, Derek Carr is not a great fantasy quarterback. He's not going to be putting up 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he's going to be a serviceable QB2 if you're in a Superflex league, though. So
I agree with that. Let's see. I can compare my rankings directly if I pull them up real quick.
Would you have Taysom Hill on yours? Because I think that you like Taysom, don't you?
Compared to your rankings, I mean, it's not love in comparison. Okay. You know, we have them about the same area. I think he has a shot to be the starter next season, but you know, we'll see what that means for the long term. So for me, Mahomes, Murray, I actually have Dak at 3 because I'm fully confident that he comes back healthy, and he was the number 1 quarterback when he was playing this season.
Do you think Dallas will re-sign him or franchise tag him or let him walk?
I think they'll franchise tag him. They should definitely re-sign him, but they are Dallas, so they will franchise tag him, sadly. So,
man, it just goes to show how good the quarterbacks are this year. Joe, I mean, you got Lamar Jackson at 6, and I think that's fair. All the ones above him are going to be great. I mean, we saw Lamar Jackson be 1.2 in some dynasty startups last year. Yeah, just goes to show that quarterbacks are king. I mean, I did a dynasty startup already, and it was a 12-man. 8 of the 12 picks in the first round were quarterbacks. And that's not what it was last year. You would have got Mahomes, Kyler, maybe Dak, and Lamar in the first round, maybe. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, the quarterbacks are king this year.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, a lot of times, very like they might be able to sneak in there at the late first, but They tended to be more second round picks.
I was say I've seen in your quarterbacks, your top 10 go first round. Either one of them go first round in a couple of my drafts. I've seen anyone from Herbert up in your rankings go in the first round. So if you're joining a startup and you're wanting a quarterback and you're in the middle of the draft, be prepared to get Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook because he's going to be sitting there.
Yeah, definitely. So I see some similarities between us. It's kind of hard to have anyone besides Murray and Mahomes be the top two. Dak, I think my confidence in him is stronger than most. We both have Joe Burrow there at 7. We have Lamar around the same range at 6.
Big Ben, though.
Big Ben, I think, is a big difference. I have him at 14. I just don't see a way that he's not the Steelers quarterback next year.
Yeah, well, did you see my tweet today?
Probably. I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember at the moment.
Big Ben, $41
million
mil on the cap. If he's not on the roster, even if he retires, he's cut, traded, $24 million on the cap, regardless. So I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in quite a position. I think they gotta hope Big Ben comes back, but man, I don't know. He did not look good by the end of the season. It's just concerning for me.
It is concerning. I mean, he'll probably come down as the season wears on. We'll have to kind of monitor that. The one thing I will say about Ben is that for at least that offense as of right now, they can't run the ball, and it just they have to rely on Ben Roethlisberger to throw the football a lot, and he has good weapons. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. At the moment, we'll see if Juju comes back to Pittsburgh. I would be surprised if he does.
No, he's not. They don't have the cap space strictly because I was looking at if they're going to be re-signing Juju, and that's what made me go look at Big Ben's contract.
Right.
I mean, I don't really see a way they can re-sign Juju, especially since he's going to be one of them. I mean, I don't think he's going to be wanting max money, especially over the past couple of years, but he's going to be wanting. I mean,
he'll be one.
I mean, Amari Cooper's making $20 million a year. I don't think he's gonna be asking for $20 million, but he's gonna be asking for at least 15.
Excuse me. Yeah, I would be surprised. Specifically, I think they're $13 million in the hole. That's what I saw on Spotrac. But they also, I think they would prioritize defense if they had to sign anyone in free agency. Bud Dupree was playing on the franchise tag. And then I think it was when Bud Dupree tore his ACL that the Pittsburgh Steelers season kind of spiraled out of control.
I'd say Bud Dupree and Devin Bush kind of got injured, I think, back-to-back weeks, and that really took a hit on that defense.
Definitely. Moving on here, let's see what else we can highlight. Goff ahead of him at 13. That's a little high.
Let's say that kind of stood out to me too, but I mean, he's paired with Sean McVay. I looked at Jared Goff's contract a couple of days ago. $60 million of dead cap until I think it was 2023. So he is kind of Carson Wentz contract range. So he's not going anywhere.
Daniel Jones 17. Then Tua, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's someone I probably got to move up a little bit, even if he's not the Falcons quarterback this year, which is a toss-up.
Matt Ryan with my QB 20 as well, so we're right on the same page.
Cool. That's nice. Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, by the way, the little asterisk right there.
I saw that.
Does mean he's a expected free agent and then expected restricted free agents.
Oh, I like that.
2 stars. Thank you. But Jameis, I think I'm just him expecting him to get a job elsewhere leads to me having him a little higher in the rankings. Jalen Hurts at 26 because I expect that Carson Wentz is going to be the starter at least to begin next year.
I just can't see the incoming the incoming head coach wanting both those quarterbacks on the roster. That's why I had them ranked where I did, because I think regardless, I feel like Wentz has to be moved. unless the coach loves Wentz and thinks that he can, mold him back to shape. And then I feel like they have to move Hurts. There's no way they're going to keep both those quarterbacks on the roster. At least in my opinion. I mean, imagine if you were going there and you had both those quarterbacks. I mean, it would be a headache.
You're not lying. It would be It would be a difficult situation for sure. We'll see if a head coach is willing to work with that or just cut bait, like we said.
So I saw you're not a Jordan Love fan either.
Not after an MVP season from Aaron Rodgers. Maybe in the future, but not right now.
I think it was kind of like what Billy was saying. He was kind of having a suck it season. You know what? Hey, you drafted the quarterback. I'm going to go throw 50 touchdowns. And he may do it next year, but I mean, to draft the quarterback round 1, I feel like they're going to have to.
It'll happen eventually.
Rodgers sooner or later.
It'll happen. Let's move on to your running back rankings. Since there's 50 for you and 55 for me, I'm not going to hit too hard directly.
Gotta talk about that AJ Dillon 21 though. I've been acquiring in all leagues.
We'll shout out the big time surprises here. Let's say Jonathan Taylor at 4 ahead of Saquon. I think that's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. Let's see, moving down the list. Cam Akers at 11. I think that's a little higher than where I have him.
Whoa, higher than Robert. I didn't think I'd come see the day that I'd have Cam Akers ranked higher than Robert.
Well, I mean, I think I'm kind of mid hype on Cam Akers. I love David Montgomery in his rookie season, and then like the post hype on David Montgomery, I was not buying it. Okay. I was just like, on David Montgomery, and now I'm still kind of on David Montgomery, but I think the same thing essentially is going to happen with Cam Akers. We have Zeke at 12, which is very.
I may have him too high. I mean, hey man, if we're talking about startups and Zeke, if you're a Zeke fan, I would join a startup right now. I'm pulling up my draft right now to see where he went, but I know that he went pretty late. I mean, for Ezekiel Elliott, whenever he had Dak Prescott, he was a bona fide RB1. But as soon as Dak Prescott got injured, he really was an RB2, but still a very, very serviceable elite level RB2. He was still getting all those touches that you liked from him. But, I mean, we saw that body start to break down. Tony Pollard kind of jumped on the scene this year. So I loved me some Tony Pollard. If I could get Zeke pretty cheap, I would do it. And the easiest way to do that is to join a startup right now because you can get him pretty cheap.
I feel. God, just the price on Z, like how the mighty have fallen, essentially. And let me real quick switch over to.
It did hurt putting. I hate Ronald Jones. It did hurt for me to put Ronald Jones at RB22 because I'm not a big fan of him. I don't think he's going to do good. But with Leonard Fournette being a free agent, I don't know if he's going to re-sign with the Buccaneers.
I think Keyshawn Vaughn personally will be a lot more involved in the next few years. So big differences in my rankings, really. I do have Saquon at 2, like Billy did. I'm still pretty confident in him. I do have Jonathan Taylor ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. I have Taylor at 5 and Elliott at 6. I did
just check. Zeke Elliott went 3.12 in this Dynasty startup.
Yeah, and
3.12 for an elite level RB that was a top 5 pick last year. Is he going to be DeMarco Murray range where he just drops off, or is he going to kind of be like Derrick Henry where you just keep feeding him the ball? It's going to be interesting to see what 2021 looks like.
For me, Ezekiel Elliott is only 25 years old, and the real thing for Zeke was the difference with Dak Prescott. When Dak Prescott was there, he was the top 3 running back. I know it's hard to remember because it was so long ago, but when Dak was there, he was the top 3 running back, and that's a 5-week sample. It's not, too small of a time. From then on, it really fell off, but when you look at the situation he was in, Andy Dalton, and then all the backups that you can.
Dude, you can't throw out Ben
disgustingly
DiNucci's
name.
name, dude. That guy was a legend. Ben DiNucci was probably, in my opinion, the greatest Cowboys starting quarterback of all time.
Anyone would like to have a word with you. Anyone who is Brandon Whedon would like to have a word with you.
Did you see what Jerry Jones said about Ben DiNucci?
I hope I didn't.
This guy, Jerry Jones, whenever the Denver Broncos had to play that wide receiver at quarterback, Jerry Jones said, "I don't understand what everyone's making a fuss about. We had to start Ben DiNucci at quarterback." Basically comparing Ben DiNucci to this wide receiver that's never played quarterback. You know, I kind of felt bad for the guy, but he was pretty bad.
Frickin' Jerry Jones. So insensitive, but I love it. Nick Chubb at 8. He was at 6 for you. So that's right around the same range. DeAndre Swift a little lower for me than for you. You have him at 7. Yep. Let's see what we can kind of highlight here as differences.
What do you have Myles Gaskin at?
Myles Gaskin, I have him at 25.
Okay.
I actually have him behind Kenyon Drake, which is kind of something that a lot of people probably wouldn't be going for. You have him at
Kenyon Drake in this startup, round 20. Kenyon Drake sitting there. Still.
You did say that it is an IDP startup, which, you know, that does factor in a little bit, but
it does.
Man,
but
20.
Players that were around when Kenyon Drake was still around, it just kind of makes you look in the mirror and be like, man, I don't know where this guy's going to start next year. He did get transition tagged by the Cardinals last year, so he's not even under contract this year, so he's a free agent. I don't know where he's going to go.
As you can see by my Chase Edmonds number 27 rank, you know, I would be buying Chase Edmonds, but I feel like people. Oh, and you have him at 28. So wow, we're like twins on this pod. Big difference. I see you have Melvin Gordon there at 25, and I would probably have to scroll a decent amount to find Melvin Gordon. He's at 33 for me.
Disrespectful.
More for age than anything. I know he's under contract next season in Denver, but beyond that, I really don't have a lot of confidence for the long-term prospects of Melvin Gordon. What is he? I think he's 28. So it's
at the start of the season, he will be age 27.
He currently is 27 and turns 28 in April. So you lied to me.
Well, that's awkward. I will say this: I'm looking at Philip Lindsay's contract, and I think he's about to be a free agent. Let me check.
He might be restricted because that's
he is a restricted free agent. So
it's very,
we'll see if
very
he gets a
rare.
Good contract offer.
Oh God, I accidentally X'd out. Let's pull up your rankings then in the meantime. But for Philip Lindsay, it's very rare that restricted free agents leave just because, like, you know, it just doesn't happen like that, you know. Let's see what else we can highlight here.
Especially for a running back, it's hard for another team to sign them to a big contract that'll force the other team not to match it.
Yeah. I remember Malcolm Brown the other year being a free agent, and that was interesting. Let's see here what we got.
I think I put Chris Carson at 26 pretty low, but he's a free agent as well, and I don't expect the Seahawks to sign him. I mean,
the way that Pete Carroll is talking, it's looking more and more unlikely.
I mean, they drafted Rashad Penny a couple years ago, and he's finally, I think, going to get his chance next year. Regardless if they do draft somebody, I think Pete Carroll's going to give him at least the RB1 and see what happens. I didn't put him on this list because I'm not quite for sure what the Seahawks are going to do yet, but it's hard for me to pinpoint a team where Chris Carson's going to go if he does leave the Seahawks.
Definitely. Todd Gurley at 31, that's a little higher than I have confidence for Gurley, and he's an expected free agent. Really didn't look great this season. Keyshawn Vaughn at 42. That's another one.
Do you have him higher or lower than that?
Let me check. I have Keyshawn Vaughn at running back 31, so pretty higher. ahead of Melvin Gordon, by the way.
I mean, for me with Keyshawn Vaughn, man, like I love him, but that guy has to learn how to hold onto the football. If you are not going to get very many snaps, and the snaps you do get, you turn over the football.
Mhm.
Bruce Arians is the coach that's not going to trust you. He is going to move off of you and say, "Sorry, man, like you're not going to get the rock."
Yeah. As far as Keyshawn Vaughn, I think Bruce Arians just hates rookies, and we saw that with David Johnson, who second season came in and was phenomenal.
I mean, we even saw that with Ronald Jones's rookie year. I mean, the guy was giving Peyton Barber carries over freaking Ronald Jones, and I'm a big Ronald Jones hater, but I know that he's better than Peyton Barber.
Yeah. I do have Rashad Penny ranked. I have him ranked at 30.
Ooh, I love that.
Right ahead of Keyshawn Vaughn. I have Chris Carson ranked at 23. I have A.J. Dillon ranked at 28, if that makes you happy.
It does.
Let's see. I have JaMychal Hasty. I have JaMychal Hasty ranked at 42.
49ers pick?
Yes. Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, and I think Jerick McKinnon also is a free agent. But I know Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman are free agents. I think JaMychal Hasty at this point is the last man standing in that backfield.
Ooh, I gotta go send out a few trades then. But yeah, the running back is a deeper position in 2021, especially with those rookie running backs coming in. It's a position that in previous years you had to reach on. You had to say, fuck, like I'd rather draft let's say for instance, I'd rather draft a Josh Jacobs in the first round than Devontae Adams, just because I know that, the running backs aren't going to get back to me. But this year, especially, the running back is pretty deep, so it doesn't force your hand to go say, damn, I gotta reach on a running back first round instead of filling up my team. Yeah,
I'd be very happy to end up with a guy like you mentioned, Zeke in the third round, Joe Mixon in the fourth round, Kenyon Drake super late. I think Kenyon Drake will be relevant no matter where he is next season. Another quick point for me, I have LaMichael Perrine for the New York Jets ranked at 43. Frank Gore leaving. He is a free agent, so
he will find a place.
He will find a place.
Imagine being his age and just getting lit up by linebackers, man. Like I'm 4 years old right now, and I ache and pain when I have to bend over. Let alone being 40-something or almost 40-something and being an NFL running back. Like that's unheard of. Like kudos to Frank Gore.
I really want Frank Gore to stay in the NFL and then be on the same team as his son when his son is drafted.
That'll be cool.
That is the most optimal thing. And then my kind of hands-off ranking, I have Todd Gurley at 48.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
how the mighty have fallen then.
Todd Gurley was a tale of two halves last season. First half of the season, he was an RB2. Last half of the season, he was an RB4. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just got to try to think here and weigh. I mean, is he going to get the volume next year? Is he going to go maybe to Miami? Is he going to go maybe to Buffalo? I think he's going to stay somewhere in warm weather. I think Miami is going to either sign Le'Veon Bell or Todd Gurley. That's my prediction. Whether or not they still draft the running back, we'll see.
It is very interesting. If you saw me take a quick, I saw Trey's wide receiver rankings, and it's not, a hate sort of thing, but immediately I see A.J. Brown sitting there at wide receiver 3, and not
should have moved him up to wide receiver 2.
Not over Tyreek. But over Justin Jefferson, over Stephon Diggs, over DeAndre Hopkins, those are some names that's very interesting. Let's see. Anything else? I mean, we're kind of similar here on a lot of guys. Like I have AJ Brown as the wide receiver 9 right now, so it's not too bad, not too much lower. I mean that's still a difference from 3 to 9.
That's quite a bit, 3 to 9.
Yeah.
That's me saying he's going to be an elite level wide receiver, and that's me saying he's going to be consistent. For me, AJ Brown, I will buy the Ryan Tannehill hype. I think I saw something that said over the last, I don't know if it was last 2 years, but over the last year and a half, whenever Tannehill took over for Mariota, he has been a top 3 quarterback. And I mean, I'll buy that.
He's been great.
I don't necessarily think that that's overly sustainable, but with Corey Davis being a free agent, I think AJ. I mean, I don't know what Corey Davis is going to do this offseason. I don't know if the Titans are going to re-sign him because he wasn't explosive until this season whenever he was working for that contract.
Yeah.
So I'll take AJ Brown at wide receiver 3. Diggs, Hopkins,
Michael Thomas being a little low.
They're all significantly older. I'll take someone who's 4 to 5 years younger than him and still putting up similar production.
I can see that.
What do you think about me putting at T. Higgins at 19?
For me personally, I have T. Higgins ranked at 21. So, we're in the same range.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a mark against T. Higgins. I really like the talent, but it is a mark of there's a lot of great. Like I was texting you about this earlier. I have McCole Hardman at my wide receiver 40, and he's one of my favorite dynasty buys right now. Like he's someone I want in like a ton of leagues, and he's my wide receiver 40.
Do you think he's just gonna take a step forward? Do you think someone's about to be out of the picture and he's about to get more targets, or what?
Well, Sammy Watkins and Demarcus Robinson are both expected to be free agents.
Really? Okay, I didn't know about Sammy. I didn't know his contract situation.
Right. So last season, there was a ton of speculation that Sammy was going to get cut. He had one more year on his deal, a lot of money owed. But instead, he renegotiated the contract, so they worked it out for the year. Demarcus Robinson was a free agent last season, but signed a 1-year contract to return to Kansas City. So both of them now expected free agents. They could bring one or two of them back, but as of right now, McCole Hardman is lined up to be the wide receiver 2 next year, and next year will be McCole Hardman's 3rd year in the NFL, which is the year that it tends to start to click for wide receivers. And he has had plenty of time to kind of study behind one of the best deep threats in Tyreek Hill.
I think the biggest difference in mine and Billy's rankings was where I have Adam Thielen. I think he had Adam Thielen in the top 12, didn't he?
I think so. I don't remember exactly where.
He had Thielen pretty high. I have Thielen at wide receiver 37 right now.
Wow, that is
disrespectful. I did put a lot of young wide receivers above him, but I mean, Thielen's going to be 30 years old at the start of the season, so I'd rather get someone who, like, I have Jalen Reagor above him at wide receiver 33, and he's 22 years old, but I still expect the Eagles to add either Chase or Smith at the number 6 pick. But I think that, in my estimation, I think that might help Reagor. Brandon Marshall on First Things First said yesterday, the biggest thing to help a wide receiver is having somebody, across from him. Yeah. And I think if you do add Chase or Smith, I think that's only going to make Reagor that much better.
Interesting. I have Thielen at 20, so not as high as Billy, but definitely not as low as you. I'm closer to Billy than to you. And I have him ahead of T. Higgins at 21, just because I know I'm probably going to get top 10 production out of Thielen. It's very possible that I get 2 years of that. Billy did mention Thielen's the touchdown guy. He wasn't just saying that. I believe Thielen led the league in red zone targets this year, so he's heavily utilized around the red zone. Keenan Allen was a big difference for you and me and Billy. I mentioned that I have him at wide receiver 7, and then you have him at 17. Billy had him at 6.
I think that might be a little disrespectful on Keenan. I mean, he's still only 28.
If you're looking at Dynasty, it's a 3-year term, 3-year turnaround. If he's 21 or 31 in 3 years, I would love it if he was 21 in 3 years. But if he was 31 in 3 years, he's still, able to perform at a high level. So
let's say, if we're talking about that 30-year-old threshold, I'm trying to look. Julio Jones at wide receiver 22 is the first person that's 30 years or older on my top 50, and it looks like him, Thielen, are the only people in my top 50. Him and Thielen are the only people who are 30 years old or plus in my top 50.
Antonio Brown, 33 years old, which is interesting.
How could I forget about AB?
And Robert Woods is 29, so he's getting around there, close. Yep. But you have Juju at wide receiver 21. I believe I have him much lower. Wide receiver 36. More so because I don't know what's going to happen with him. It's very possible he takes the money, and the money ends up sending him to a team like the Jets. And
I'd love if he takes the money and goes to Jacksonville, hook up with Trevor Lawrence for a little bit.
That would be good. I would actually hate that for my DJ Chark.
Maybe if he goes to the Raiders, we need some wide receivers, send Juju our way. I would hate for him to be the leader of the wide receiving room. I just sent out a tweet like a couple hours ago. It was a video of Chase Claypool. He was on an interview and he was talking to the reporter. And the reporter asked him why he was so salty about, losing to the Browns. And he just went off saying how disrespectful they were. And this made me realize that Juju is not a leader. Juju should not be who is leading your wide receiving room, because he's pretty immature. And it's clearly shown to rub off on Chase Claypool and all the other wide receivers over there.
I can see that. I have Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool back-to-back 30 and 31. For you have Deontay. Oh, you have them back-to-back, but the opposite way around, 31-32.
That's funny.
And you have Claypool one spot higher. I have Johnson one spot higher. And then I believe there's one more thing I wanted to highlight from our wide receiver rankings. You have Jerry Jeudy pretty high.
Oh, yeah.
Wide receiver 20 right now, ahead of Juju, Julio, Tyler Boyd. Let's see some other names. Cortland Sutton, his own teammate. I have Jeudy at 33, and I thought I was, drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. I feel like Sutton is the clear one still on that team. I have Sutton at 28. Not
Sutton
hate
would
by any
love
means
to have the ability that Jerry Jeudy has. And plus, man, Cortland Sutton's coming off that torn ACL. Who knows? I think he's still going to be a good wide receiver, but I don't think he's going to be a number one. I don't think he was ever a number one, to be honest with you. There was just nobody else there. There was Tim Patrick. There was Hamilton. There wasn't very many people for him to compete with targets, so I think that they just fed him. And I think whenever 2021 comes around and Sutton and Jeudy are on the same field, I think Jeudy will show why he's a superior talent. We saw him get over 100 targets this year. Yeah, his catch rate wasn't good, but if you look at any Broncos receiver, the targets way outweighed what the receptions was. Drew Lock's throwing accuracy is just not there. We're hoping he takes the Josh Allen next step and kind of zeroes in on that accuracy, and I think that'll help Jerry Jeudy that much more, because Jerry Jeudy had over 110 targets this year, only had 56 catches.
That's not going to get
the efficiency was not there. If he even catches a couple more balls, I mean, his stats are just going to be that much better.
Yeah, for sure. And then the final thing I'm going to highlight, you have N'Keal Harry ranked, period. I do not.
I've been buying him all day. I've actually bought 3 shares of him today in trades.
Interesting. Someone that I have ranked that I feel you should have ranked is Sterling Shepard for the New York Giants. Had a very bright end to the season. And, he's 53 for me. You don't technically go beyond 50, but still.
He is pretty close to that 50 range. But for me, man, he's getting up there in age. I think he's 27 or 26, 27 right now. For me, I think that his prime is probably behind him. I mean, he's not going to produce much better seasons than what he's already done.
I can understand that, especially if the Giants invest in the wide receiver position in the draft. And then the final thing I wanted to highlight, I mentioned earlier, a little ode to Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones being free agents. I have Quintez Cephas ranked at wide receiver 30 or 55 right now.
I say 30. What do you?
That was a mistake. 55 right now, because
that's fair.
Very possible he's the only wide receiver in town.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to project. Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay are probably one of them are not going to be on the roster next year. They might bring back Marvin Jones on a cheap deal. Marvin Jones didn't produce what he usually does this year, so maybe he might not get that contract that he was hoping. Cephas is a good ad. I think Hawkinson is going to be a great asset next year just because there might not be very many people there. Him and Swift might be the whole offense.
Speaking of Hawkinson, we'll pull up your Dynasty rankings to start at tight end, hit on these real quick, and then we can round it out for the people. I'll highlight big differences between you and me, which really not a ton. I have TJ Hawkinson over Mark Andrews, Hawkinson at 4 and Andrews at 5. Hunter Henry is someone I have a lot lower. I currently have him at tight end 13 because he's a free agent. If I knew he was going to be, let's say, the Chargers tight end next season, I would probably rank him about that range, probably 8 or so. But at the moment, who knows? He could sign in a place where they do heavily utilize the tight end. He could sign in a place where they don't, and it could honestly go either way.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty fair. He is a free agent, so that's smart for you to weigh that. For me, I think Hunter Henry with the Chargers, that's his best situation. Could he move? Yeah, I could see him going to the Patriots. I could see him going to a couple other different teams as well. But Hunter Henry has the talent. He's still only 26 years old, so we know that he's going to be youthful. He's going to be here for a few more years. I could see maybe moving Noah Fant and Dallas Goedert over him, but other than that, I like where I have him.
I have both of those over him. I have Logan Thomas at 8, so I'm buying him as a long mainstay at the tight end position. Do you feel that?
I do feel that he will be the Washington football team's tight end next year. He's 29, man. He's old. He was a very late bloomer. He was a quarterback his first couple of years in the league before they moved him over to tight end. 29 years old for a tight end that is just now starting his first year as a starting tight end was last year. I would rather have the people who I have above him, like Irv Smith or Jonnu or Cole Kmet, those young tight ends that still have room to grow, over Logan Thomas. But if you're looking for who's going to produce in 2021, it's just Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas over there. There's not much else to offer.
Yeah. I didn't see you had Gronkowski on there at first. I was going to ask having OJ Howard over Gronkowski, but I see him now sneaking in there.
Where do you have Higbee at?
Tyler Higbee, I went through 20, and I do not have him ranked.
Oh, man, that's disrespectful.
16 through 20, I have Irv Smith, Jonnu Smith, Eric Ebron, Zach Ertz, and then Blake Jarwin. Zach Ertz I'm pretty low on. But yeah, I'm not forgetting about Blake Jarwin. Jake Blarwin.
Jake Blarwin. I do love Blake Jarwin. He almost made my top 20. I think I have 32 tight ends. Is he on there?
I thought it was 24. It is 24.
Okay. 24 tight ends. I think he almost made the cut, but I'm just not liking what I saw off that 20 ACL. Dalton Schultz played pretty serviceable this year, so I don't know what their plan will be. But they did sign Blake Jarwin to a contract extension the week before he tore his ACL, so that was pretty clutch. I love Tyler Higbee. Gerald Everett is a free agent this offseason. We saw what Tyler Higbee could look like in that offense as the only tight end and the fantasy playoffs 2019. He won a lot of people a lot of money. People overdrafted him last season because of that. But I think if you're looking at 2021, I bought a lot of Tyler Higbee so far this offseason. He is going to be. I think he might be a high-end tight end 2 next season. The targets might be there.
Interesting. I didn't know that
Gerald Everett was free.
Yeah, that was news to me. So yep. I saw you buy Higbee in the Fantasy Forecast League, and I was surprised. And now I
it's too late before Higbee. For me, I use this time, like Billy says, he doesn't like to make his rankings before free agency. I like to use this time before free agency to buy low on people that people may not know situation probably will get better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for me, man, like I spend so much time looking at contracts, looking at where this guy may go. I'm pretty aware of, hey, this guy's a free agent. He might leave. I've been buying A.J. Dillon all week because people don't know that Aaron Jones is a free agent. That's
Mm-hmm.
not my problem. That's your problem. I mean,
yeah.
A.J. Dillon might be the number one back in Green Bay next year with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams both being free agents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got to give someone carries.
They do. I mean, I try to stay on top of it too. We've made some trades too in the fantasy forecast league.
Making lots of trades in that forecaster league. I love that league. Everyone's open to trading, open to moving players. It's just such a fun league.
Definitely, it's very active. Trey, it's been fantastic. We had a long episode tonight, but we got through all the rankings, so that's a positive.
We forgot to do kicker and defense rankings. I got my top 32 kickers ready to go.
Let's just throw it right in the trash.
Hey man, that's fair. That's honestly fair.
Thank you so much for coming on to the pod. Definitely try to have you on again here soon. It was definitely a fun time. Love the insight and love the little, hey, this dude's a free agent. Maybe you should be buying this person.
Hey man, if anybody listening or watching, they could reach out to me on my DMs at FFS Superflex Guru, or go check out the website ffbforecast.com. We got a lot of information over there. I'm just now starting to get everything updated again for the off season, so make sure you go check that out.
Sure thing. And you can find my articles on that website as well, FFB Forecast.
Dude, those weekly breakdowns were honestly pretty killer for me. It really made me know who I could start, because a lot of people are not familiar. Because a lot of big things with you was, hey, bench this guy because he's about to get shattered by this guy. Make sure that you don't play this big name guy because, Jalen Ramsey's on him. Jalen Ramsey's going to shut him down.
Yeah. Little things. I try.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. It was fun catching up with you and Billy. Haven't seen either of you guys in quite some time, so it was fun catching up with you.
Definitely.
I didn't know you were freaking married, dude. Last time I talked to you, you were engaged.
Yeah.
What the hell?
She wouldn't let me go. She had to put a ring on it.
Hey, smart lady. Smart lady.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at Dynasty Force Podcast, YouTube Dynasty Force, Twitter at Dynasty Force Pod, YouTube Dynasty Force Podcast, and then check us out on all streaming platforms. Again, shout out Trey. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll have you again on shortly, I'm sure. And
hey, man, you're gonna have Shane on. He's been complaining.
Yeah, the little whiner. We'll call him.
The little brother. Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I love talking about rankings. I love comparing rankings. It's honestly the best way to know if you know what's going on. Say, hey, I have this guy ranked here. You have this guy ranked there. Why do you think that? And it's honestly the best way to kind of fairly value players. Agreed
for sure. Can't just have your own opinion all the time, because it definitely needs to be compared. And thank you all. If you made it to this point, you deserve an amazing award.
You deserve a cookie.
Yeah. And by the way, Jaguars officially announced Urban Meyer as head coach. So just as we close it out, it's now official. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll catch you next week on the Dynasty Force Pod.